All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about what makes a magician dangerous, not only to others, but also themselves. So let's get into it. I want to take a moment to shout out my top Patreon and Subscribestar supporters: Andrew Baucamp, Bardan, David Ray Tibbetts Jr., Exponential Worth, John Sheffield, Matthew Della Garza, Nick Giacara, The Musician, Kevin Johnson, Frater Omar, and a couple others who preferred not to be named, but they know who they are. Thank you so much for your patronage and continuing support. It really does make a huge difference. All right, so when I talk about magicians being dangerous, you probably get the idea of black magicians performing baneful magic to harm others. And while yes, that can be dangerous, that's not what I'm getting at here. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more along the lines of the magician unwittingly making magic more dangerous for themselves and others in a multitude of ways, which we'll get into. As much as I talk about the benefits of magic, because that is my profession after all, there are some dangers that are associated with it, and people need to be aware of them so that they can avoid the danger or becoming dangerous. So the first way that you could become a dangerous magician is by using unclear or incomplete statements of intent. If you are going to be a magician, you absolutely must have a clear idea of your intended outcome in mind, and take the time to perfect your statement of intent before performing the magic. If your statement of intent is unclear, vague, or can be taken more than one way, then you are allowing the subconscious to do something unexpected, including something dangerous. The responsible magician is going to eliminate the possibility of the subconscious misinterpreting their statement of intent as much as they can. And even then, it's most likely going to manifest in an unexpected way and at a time that you least expect it, because that's how magic works. So you really don't want to give it any more ammunition to deviate from your intention. Now, if your statement of intent is incomplete, and by that I primarily mean not binding down the action not wanted, then you also run the risk of the magic becoming dangerous. We've all heard the stories. And we've even had a few on this channel. What's the alleged kill count on this channel now? Like 2? Where somebody casts for money, and then they have a relative who just happened to leave them in their will, who passes away, leaving them some money. And it's quite common because that is the path of least resistance for those people. Magic likes to take the path of least resistance. It searches to see where you can get the money from. It's like, oh, Uncle Jody has some money. Oh, and you happen to be in their will. Well, that's just a layup for the subconscious and magical forces that you've put into motion. You know the saying, careful what you wish for? Well, that goes double for magic. The subconscious does not care who it harms. So that's why responsible magical practitioners finish off their intention statements with binding down the action not wanted. The most common of which is, and may it harm none. Now, I also like, may it bless all involved, because I like everyone involved to get a little something out of it. But I've also used may it harm none, and that's perfectly fine as long as you're using something to bind down the action not wanted, to make sure that your magic doesn't go off the rails and become dangerous. Now, I know that most of you listening already know these things, but there's somebody out there who needs to hear it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had it pop into my head to do a video on the dangers of magic. If it's one thing that I've learned doing YouTube all these years, it's that I release videos in synchronicity with the needs of my audience. That's what I keep hearing. So I'm just going to trust the intuitive instruction as I always do. Okay, so the next way that you could become a dangerous magician is by not guarding the gates of your mind. And even when you do, things are still going to be able to get through and possibly cause some havoc. Because the world in which we live today, we're constantly being bombarded with information and instructions that are being placed into our subconscious minds. You've heard me say it before that if you're not doing your magic, somebody else will be doing it for you. So how do you guard the gates of your mind? Well, you just have to be consciously vigilant of what's going in. It's not the things that you catch that you need to be concerned with, because remember, the conscious mind acts as the filter. It's the things that you don't catch, that slip by the conscious mind, that you need to be concerned with causing a bunch of trouble or taking root. So what most people do when they watch TV or scroll through their Facebook feed is their mind shuts off. They go into a mild trance and just zone out, which is the perfect opportunity for things to slip past your conscious filter and enter the gates of your mind. And if you're someone who's been getting into magic, developing your personal power to manifest by utilizing the subconscious mind, well, it can have even more devastating effects for you because you've been training your subconscious mind to take hold of things and manifest them. Even talking to people, you have to be careful. I was just talking about how in the Mercury retrograde video, how my right hip went out that, is associated with hot and also Mercury. But before that, I had talked to my father on Father's Day, and he was currently in Branson, Missouri on vacation. So I asked him if he was going to Silver Dollar City and a couple of the other places down there. And he said no, because his wife is having trouble walking around. She don't get around so easy anymore. And of course I said, I'm sorry to hear that, and suggested getting a, scooter or something, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then a couple of days later, I'm having trouble getting around. So even things slip past me, because the truth is, if you're not going to be a total recluse, isolated from society and the rest of the world, things are going to slip in every now and then. But if you're practicing magic, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to do what you can to minimize the effects. You really need to be more consciously vigilant by paying attention. You can no longer afford to be just one of the unconscious plebes of the masses. Because the better that you get at magic, the easier it's going to be to unintentionally manifest these things as you're scrolling through the Facebook feed, or your foolish friend is telling you about their problems, or by staring at the television. As you develop your personal power, you also take on the responsibility for that power. And as I said, even I'm not immune. Now, I have to be on social media because of the work that I do. But if I didn't, then I wouldn't. And when I am on there, I do my best not to scroll through the feeds, just mindlessly scrolling past everything that my subconscious is taking all in. Because when I do have problems, I can usually trace them back to something somebody said or posted or I've seen on TV. They all come from other people. And then everyone wonders why magicians are notorious recluses, because we don't want to manifest the garbage that's pouring out of people. It's not that we want to ignore you. It's not that we don't care about the difficulties that you've been having. It's that we don't want to be infected with the problems that you unwittingly were trying to manifest into our lives. So you really got to keep your guard up. And even then, it's still occasionally going to get you, but it won't be nearly as dangerous than if you didn't guard the gates of your mind. Now, another way that you could become a dangerous magician is if you break your oaths, vows, and promises, either to spiritual entities or to magical lodges. These vows and oaths are sacred and should be considered as such. And heaven help you if you don't fulfill your promises to any spirits that you've employed to help you. Not only can you be inviting a living hell upon yourself, but you can also completely lose your magical power to help you get out of it. Now, this is something that happened to me many years ago. I simply forgot to make good on an offering that I promised, and it cost me dearly. In fact, it cost me what I cared about most in this world at the time. And I still kick myself for it. Things didn't get better until I made good on my promise. Once I figured it out, I took care of it. And this was the basis for the Laws of Magic series, because I had to go back and examine all the laws of magic to try to figure out what I did wrong so that I could correct it. And then later on, I turned it into a course so that others can learn from my mistake. That magic can and will be dangerous if you do not follow its laws. The Laws of Magic is a subscription course detailing the universal laws that everyone must follow in order to have a successful magical practice. If you've ever had difficulty getting magic to work for you, it's probably because you've broken one or more of the laws of magic. Now, some of the laws of magic are pretty benign and it will just keep magic from manifesting for you. but others can be downright dangerous if you don't adhere to them. In fact, this entire course was born out of my having broke one of the laws of magic, where my magic failed and I paid dearly for it. I had to go back and examine all of the laws of magic just to find out where I went wrong. Afterward, I saw an opportunity for others to learn from it in order to help prevent them from making the same mistake. The Laws of Magic runs an entire year, delivered straight to your inbox, consisting of 50 lessons plus an introduction and an epilogue. If you want to have a successful magical practice, there's no better way to learn the do's and don'ts of magic than the Laws of Magic. You can get the Laws of Magic and other Mind and Magic programs over at mindandmagic.com today. I want to thank you for joining me. Like, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.